Hello, I'm Bob Gourley, the Chief Technology Officer of OODA LLC. This presentation is on the topic of technology debt in mergers and acquisition, including a good working practical definition of technology debt in a mergers and acquisition context. It also talks about the places where you can find technology debt and some tips on how to mitigate it. First, a bit about me. I've spent a career evaluating the business impact of technology. My first career was in the US Navy as an intelligence officer, where I had to understand our own technology to protect it against adversaries who were trying to attack it. I also had to understand adversary technologies and articulate assessments for decision makers. Later, after my career in the Navy at TRW in Northrop Grumman, I helped steer investments to create new technologies which could be used to deliver business value to our end clients. Back in government as the Chief Technology Officer of the Defense Intelligence Agency, my focus was on applying technologies to the benefit of enterprise missions. For the last 10 years, I've been advising companies large and small, helping evaluate technology that they can apply to their business needs, as well as conducting due diligence assessments. I've helped many firms in this domain. This presentation captures my lessons learned from my experience conducting technology due diligence. It's also informed by extensive research into the megatrends of technology. It leads to actionable recommendations that will help anyone on either side of an M&A. Here's what I mean. On the buy side of an M&A assessment, say a private equity firm or a strategic acquirer, they can use the insights here to understand where technology debt could be hiding and how to mitigate it. On the sell side, any firm considering an investment or who may be a target of an M&A who wants to optimize their own long-term value and achieve more favorable terms will also benefit from this presentation. So first, some terms. What is technical due diligence? Well, technology due diligence is designed to give insights to decision makers on the state of technology for the firm in question. This can only be done by experienced technology and business executives. It really does require a lot of experience as well as a technical understanding of how things really work. Now that's technical due diligence. What is technology debt? Well, this is what we look for in a technology due diligence. It's critically important. Here I'm going to give you a practitioner's definition of technology debt, which may be different than what you might see from other more academic-oriented presentations. To me, technology debt is the accumulated costs and effort it would take to fix problems with technology. This includes fixing problems after acquisition. So it includes fixing the problems that are required to really get the benefit of this transaction. Technology debt includes both the technology developed by the firm in question and the technology used by the firm in question. Technology debt can be hard to understand. I like to explain it with analogies. There are a lot of analogies between fiscal debt and technology debt. We've known fiscal debt, that's easy to study and understand. So let's look at the analogy. Both of them are based on the economics of optimization. They are very much about getting the most out of something. When you borrow money, you say you're going to pay it back. You want something quicker than you can afford it. Similarly, sometimes developers take shortcuts. They want to field some software quicker, and they tell themselves, I'll go back and fix this later. That is where technology debt gets started. Enterprise IT leaders also have an ability to take shortcuts in order to field stuff quicker. That's a different kind of technology debt. These kind of shortcuts may help on the short run to get product to market, but if you don't go back and fix what you missed, you're going to add up the technology debt. For example, an enterprise IT leader may decide to leverage something without creating a security policy without configuring it appropriately for security. That's technology debt that needs to be fixed. Another kind of technology debt comes from the fact that all businesses operate some degree of legacy equipment and legacy technology. Some keep very ancient systems running because it saves capital. You don't have to replace all that stuff. That's a form of technology debt. The analogy does break down, unfortunately. For one, humanity has been dealing with fiscal debt for years. So many of us have an almost intuitive understanding that if you borrow money, you have to pay it back. If you have fiscal debt, you need to pay the fiscal debt. Additionally, contracts, laws, regulations, and a whole body of best practices exist around fiscal debt because it's not new. And the behaviors regarding fiscal debt are taught in schools, and even in our own families, we have an understanding of what fiscal debt is. Technology debt is a lot newer, which means there are fewer regulatory regimes, less experience, and we never have a conversation around the dinner table with family about technology debt. It's really not part of our human experience, which is a key reason the analogy breaks down. Additionally, technology debt can be harder to articulate and harder to understand. Another way that technology debt is different from fiscal debt is the fact that it can be much more costly to remediate than fiscal debt. Depending on the situation, it could be that fiscal debt is just simply paid off with cash, whereas technology debt may require a never-ending stream of management attention and time and energy and friction and money. So the analogy is important for a basic understanding of what technology debt is, but it breaks down. What can the costs of technical debt be? Well, to pay back your technology debt, it may require you doing a lot of different things. It could be that you have to create new documentation, which takes time and energy and work. Or code may have to be rewritten, which is definitely going to take time and be costly. It may be that the technology debt requires adding new security protocols or new security monitoring capabilities. The technology debt may also require things far beyond just technical solutions. For example, creating new workflows for users, not just the technical team. It may also require storing data differently. Entirely new data architectures, including hardware, may be required to mitigate technology debt. In many cases, when we're talking about an acquisition to be merged into a company, it may require a lot of additional coding, including the creation of interfaces to integrate the technology into the existing suite. Technology debt also includes the cost of paying for testing, including red teaming and security testing. Something in general that I really believe, we just see this so frequently, the longer you wait to pay this technology debt, the more it accumulates. It gets harder as time goes on. When it comes to finding and reporting technology debt, usually when we're asked to do a due diligence assessment, we come up with a list of questions that we're asked to tackle. Shown as a notional list, but it's one that I see repeated frequently. If you're preparing for a technology due diligence, consider putting these on your list. The first, what is the nature of the technical debt in the target company? Now, this is a broad, open-ended question, but it usually develops a lot of interesting information that can help drive decisions. I always keep at the front of any technology due diligence assessment, have we found any showstopper issues, any critical red flags that we have to immediately bring to the attention of the leadership team that has asked us to do the technology assessment? We also intentionally assess cybersecurity risk in the context of technical debt. Understanding the cybersecurity risk due to technical debt is critically important because it could introduce risks that nobody was considering until that was evaluated. Another key part of understanding technical debt is the unplanned costs that may arise in mitigating the technical debt. Cost includes time. If you have to do things like modernize a code base, we need to understand the time that's going to be required to do that. Additionally, when looking at organizations, we always assess the legacy systems. Can any of those be scrapped? Scrapping legacy systems can really help mitigate technology debt. I mentioned cloud migration and the question of what is the status of cloud migration, because we have found cloud a tremendous forcing function in getting rid of technology debt. The more you move to the cloud, the easier the technology debt problem becomes solved. With that in mind, here are a few of my favorite places to look for technology debt. I believe it's absolutely critical that any technology due diligence look at the proprietary software owned by the company, including the proprietary software that's sold by the company. This is critically important. There's almost always extensive technology debt in there of some form or another. Additionally, there's the custom software that's used for corporate processes. This can be totally independent applications created by the company, or maybe it is software that kind of stitches together existing applications. Whatever it is, that custom software needs to be evaluated. We always find technology debt there. Technology debt is also frequently found in data architectures. I mentioned before the fact that you may need new hardware. You may need an entirely new design for how your data is stored and backed up and interfaced with. And doing that can really speed things up and help. It can be very expensive too. So we have to look for technology debt in data architectures. I mentioned the legacy applications. Legacy applications are generally full of technology debt, and there needs to be conscious decisions made on do we continue using those legacy applications, or do we steer away from them and modernize? Technology debt can also be found in data centers and the servers that are in those data centers. So depending on the nature of the assessment, the use of data centers, including on-prem or co-located or even cloud, needs to be assessed. A key place we always absolutely have to look for technology debt in is in the security domain. Security, identity management, authorization, and monitoring of security posture is almost always full of technology debt, and we can almost always find recommendations on ways to mitigate that through prudent action planning. Some concluding thoughts. One, technology due diligence should always provide insights into technology debt. This includes, of course, technology produced by the firm to take to market, but also technology used by the firm. Now, in a perfect world, organizations would all use technology debt responsibly and repay it quickly. But in reality, this almost never occurs. A couple recommendations. If you're on the buy side and need due diligence, make sure that the due diligence teams focus on technology debt. Select partners with deep experience required to deliver on these kind of assessments. If you're on the sell side company leadership can take action before the due diligence to smartly pay down technology debt. External experts can assist here too by providing non-biased professional assessments and prioritized action plans on how to mitigate technology debt. What do you do now? Keep learning about this topic of technology debt, whether you're on the buy side or sell side. You can do that at OODALoop.com. Please join us there. While there, look for the OODAcast. The OODAcast is available on YouTube and all podcast systems. The OODAcast is our way of tapping into the thought leaders who are really helping shape the future and generate lessons learned from their careers. Another key point, which I'd like to underscore, we are here to help. You need to find a technology due diligence partner before you need to. So reach out to us and we'll be glad to set up a conversation and tell you more about our practice. OODA has years of experience conducting technology due diligence, including diving deep into the nature of technology debt. We'd love to be on your team.
Thanks for listening to this OODA Loop production. For the latest analysis on cybersecurity, technology, and global risks, please visit www.oodaloop.com